In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the tropics. We'll also be taking a look at that massive cooldown we have coming up as well in the upcoming pattern, as well as a very, very stormy pattern that we're going to find ourselves in. So there's multiple things to go over, but first things first, we're taking a look at our current radar imagery. We do have some storminess there in the southeast, as well as in the Gulf of Mexico that is kind of associated with that area impacting the southeast. We see the south central United States dealing with some storminess down there as well. New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, even into Nebraska, we have some of that storminess ongoing. And then we have some showery activity here in the Rockies and a little bit of some showery activity here in the northeastern United States. Now, let's go ahead and take a look here at our northwesternmost precipitation that we can see. And this is going to be some lighter showers here for the Rockies. We can see Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, into Colorado. We have these lighter showers. We can note it's lighter because we see basically those lighter greens popping up. It's going to indicate some lighter precipitation overall. We do see some of this storminess extending all the way into Kansas and Nebraska, as well as maybe some surrounding states as well. And as we work our way further southward here, we can see Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico dealing with quite a bit of this storminess, heavier in some spots. For instance, in the middle of Texas here, we have some heavier showers, even a flood warning coming in south of Abilene. So definitely some heavier precipitation coming down there. And then also just to the west and south of Oklahoma City, we have quite a bit of this heavier precipitation taking place also. Now, as we move into the southeastern United States, I'm going to keep it where we can see the entire Gulf because we can see this area is associated. Here we have plenty of storminess taking place in here. This is leading towards lighter showers here for Georgia. I'll zoom in now, but we have lighter showers here along the coast of Georgia and South Carolina. As we work our way further south into Florida, we can see that some areas along the west coast of Florida are also being impacted by this storminess. And then we can see some isolated storms offshore of the east coast of Florida as well. So overall, it's a morning where definitely some storminess is taking place around you guys and might end up happening over your main regions of Florida later on today. Usually that's something that brews and brews and brews and then eventually takes place later on. We can see for New England, again, these lighter showers, New England and northern New York here, as we can see. We have plenty of this lighter green taking place, indicating, again, those lighter showers over these hilly and mountainous regions there in our very, very far northern woods here of the United States. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on and we're going to focus in on the upcoming storminess, the upcoming cool down, and that upcoming tropical activity where we have multiple tropical cyclones possibly going to take place out there in the Atlantic. Now we are taking a look at the upcoming storminess. As we can see, by the time we reach about Thursday, September 1st, today, I don't know why I just said that way, today, by the time I reach this afternoon, we're going to be taking a look here at some storminess here in the south central and southeastern United States, more so than what we're already seeing. I think the reason I just got so confused there is because I can't believe it's already September 1st. We're in September. Officially, meteorological fall very, very soon. I will be moving us into our fall channel art, which will be exciting. We kind of just skipped over the hurricane channel art this year. Not a whole lot is going on. Comment down below if you think we should actually add the hurricane channel art, but at this point I'm thinking about possibly just skipping. But I want to hear what you guys have to say about that. We do have some showery activity there in the northeast. By the time I reach tomorrow, which will already be Friday, September 2nd, can't believe it, afternoon hour of tomorrow, Friday, September 2nd, we do have a stronger low up here. We have the storminess underneath that I kind of just circled in, and probably some storminess potentially going to take place in between those two areas. I would assume, yeah, there we go. So we see some storminess kind of exploding in between here. 993 millibar low pressure center here. A bit of a trough as well associated with this low, and that is causing some storminess along that area. Now, by the time we're reaching the afternoon hour of Saturday, September 3rd, we can see that the southern United States is getting more and more stormy. We can see this cold front about here. We see a lot of storminess underneath for not only the United States, but also Mexico, areas in the Bahamas, Cuba, and other countries, I'm sure, in there as well, that I'm just not thinking of. Possibly Jamaica. No, Jamaica's south of there. Anyway, definitely a lot of different areas, including, but also in addition to the United States, we have multiple different areas seeing a lot of this storminess in the Caribbean, basically. Sunday, September 4th, we see, again, plenty of storminess taking place for the afternoon here in the south central, the southeastern United States, up through the Ohio Valley and into the northeast of the United States. Very, very interesting pattern we find ourselves in. Monday, which will be September 5th here, we have again the storminess just prevailing here in the eastern half of the country. Tuesday, which will be September 6th, we have the storminess a little bit more scattered about, a little bit less persistent here, but definitely still there overall. We have a lot of storminess around. It's just going to be more scattered, most likely. By the time we reach Wednesday, September 7th, same story here. Plenty of storminess, looking a little bit more scattered and isolated. We have a strong tropical cyclone here impacting portions of western Mexico. And then for Thursday the 8th here, a couple interesting things going on. First off, this tropical cyclone bringing precipitation into areas that do not see a ton of precipitation. We see that the eastern United States is still dealing with the storminess, and then we see a snowstorm impacting the very far northern Rockies in Canada, possibly going to intrude into the United States. Let's see if that ends up happening. Yeah, Montana. Friday, September 9th here, we see Montana seeing some snowy conditions here alongside this storm system that we can see there. Very, very interesting pattern that we find ourselves in, considering it's so early in September here. We can see that for the southeast, the south central, and the northeast here, we're still seeing this storminess just prevail. And then by Saturday, which will be September 10th, we still see the storminess overall for these areas. And we see the snowstorm really ramping up by the end of the model run. Days and days of snowfall potentially expected here, according to this model. Let's take a look at the total snowfall real quickly. Yeah, look at that. On our European model, let's see if I can get us a better view here. Maybe I'll get a better one here. That's not exactly what I'm looking for. Anyway, this area, that's a good view. We can see plenty of snowfall taking place for these areas. Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Oregon there, and even Washington, but definitely Montana there, where we're seeing anywhere in the grays seeing a dusting. If anything, blues will be 2 to 6 inches of snowfall, purples will be 6 to 10, pinks will be 10 to 20, and then your pastels there. The pastel blues are 20 to 30 inches, and then those pinks that we're seeing there for the very, very far northern regions there in Montana is where we're seeing almost 40 inches plus. This model is indicating that somewhere is seeing 80 inches of snowfall almost over the next 10 days in there. I would say it's very early in the year to be seeing this kind of snowfall taking place. Definitely more than we've seen in years past, I would say, for these areas. Very, very interesting if this verifies. Really cool to see, though. Now, for the upcoming, as this loads in now, for the total precipitation through the next 10 days. No, it's not the 10 days. We're all messed up here, but we're just rolling with it here. As you can see, plenty of precipitation expected where we saw a lot of that storminess. Also, plenty of total precipitation where we see a lot of that snowfall here. Definitely showing that a major storm system is going to roll through. Now, for the white regions, we're expecting practically no precipitation. Your grays will be 1/10 of an inch or less of precipitation. Your greens will be 1/10 of an inch to 1/2 inch. Your blues will be 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Your yellows will be 1 inch to 2 inches. And then your reds will be 2 to 5 inches. So a lot of those areas in the southeast, south central, the northeast, seeing those higher amounts. And then the browns there, like we see for coastal Texas and coastal Louisiana, and some other regions as well. That's where we're expecting 5 to 10 inches of precipitation. So really, really a lot of precipitation expected for a lot of different folks here, especially the further east and south you go. Now, for the upcoming temperature pattern, which no surprise here, it's also loading in. Don't know what happened there. Let me switch to our 0Z model run where we get a full 10-day run. This is what we're left with right now. We have a huge ridge out west. This is what we've been calling for. This is exactly what's happening. Cooler air overall for the eastern United States. Again, exactly what we called for. So this is kind of on par with what was expected for the most part. As we can see, by the time we're reaching Friday, September 2nd, we can see cooler air overall for a lot of the eastern and the southern United States here with a lot of warmth over top. What's going to happen here, which is a little bit more unexpected, is we're going to see the heat actually transfer to the east over time, at least slightly. So we see a warm-up kind of build in for Saturday the 3rd. We see cold air still underneath and another cold air mass moving in. Bit of an Arctic blast moving through. And definitely things begin to cool down by the time we're taking a look at the 4th into the 5th of September here. A lot of greens popping up, which is going to be 10 to 15 degrees below normal. Your blues will be anywhere from about 1 degree to 10 degrees below normal, especially the darker blues approaching more of that 5 to 10 degrees below normal. Now, my definition of an Arctic blast, it's always good to remind you guys, is not based on how far below normal it is or actually what the actual temperatures even are. It's more about the air mass coming directly from the Arctic regions blasting down into the United States. That's going to be a more accurate representation of what that word, or basically what that phrase would describe. Because we can get very, very far below normal temperatures for other reasons. Like, for instance, a tropical cyclone coming through would likely drop your temperatures to far below normal amounts, but you wouldn't call a tropical cyclone an Arctic blast, obviously, because it's not blasting from the Arctic. So it is more about the geographical regions than it is, and the reason for the cool down, more than it is the actual temperature. I think that's really important to differentiate there. Now, by the time we're reaching the 5th through the 6th of September, we're still seeing these cooler temperatures down here in the southeast. Warmer temperatures out west still prevailing. But again, over time, we're going to see things just warm up. Wednesday, September 7th, we have some cooler air in these regions, but things are heating up rapidly. And we're just going to keep moving on with this. And what we see happen is, I've talked a lot about positive PNAs. I've talked a lot about positive PNAs over the last few weeks. But what we haven't talked about is a negative PNA, and that's what we're seeing right here. Below normal temperatures prevailing here in the western United States, and that's what allows for that major snowstorm to take place there for Montana and Canada, because the temperatures in those pinks and magentas are 25 to 35 degrees below normal, which is obviously just crazy, crazy below normal temperatures there. And then basically what this results in is all of the warm air gets forced down and has to go somewhere, so it moves up into the eastern United States. It's the opposite, because if you have a positive PNA, let me move to where we have a positive PNA. What happens is we have positive PNA here, like we have early in the pattern. The cold air has to move around, and that's why we see some of these cold blasts moving into the eastern United States, because we have this warm bubble out west forcing that cold air to go around. So again, it's the complete opposite by the time we're reaching the end of this model run, where there's cold air here, so that warm air moves around and into the eastern United States, especially the northeastern United States there. Now, what we're going to do is move on and take a look at that 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook, as well as some spaghetti model guidance. Now, there's a couple interesting things to go over here. First off, we do have a tropical depression 5 there in the northern Atlantic there. Very, very interesting. Expected to impact Europe eventually. We'll talk more about that over the coming days. We do see there is a downgrade coming from our main development region here, but this was a code orange. Now it's a code yellow. And we have a 30% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 30% chance of development over the next 5 days. I think it was a 40% chance, so it doesn't downgrade it that much, but definitely going from that orange to that yellow feels significant for sure. We see that our main area that we've been tracking for quite a while still has a 60% chance over the next 48 hours and an 80% chance over the next 5 days. Odds are that we are going to see this one eventually develop. It does look to stay more out to sea. We'll show you guys in a minute, which is really, really good news. But definitely looking like this thing is going to develop eventually to some extent. Now, let's go ahead and move on and talk about that spaghetti model guidance real quickly. Now, here we are taking a look at it. As you can see, most of these models have us curving well out to sea, well to the east of Bermuda here. I would say the mean average here is going to be something like this. We have a group that does like to take this into this territory, which is a little bit concerning, but a vast majority actually take us further this way. So we see more taking it that way than we do this way. I'd say there's about 3 models in here that have, if we were to take a cone with it, it would be like this. So that's a little bit more concerning. That's a little bit, like we can see the Outer Banks right here on that corner. So that would be heading more towards the United States, but I think it's really interesting that we have mostly a curvature out to here, but that is a big difference, okay? Here versus here is a massive, massive difference. And if you were to draw a cone on this thing, it would look like this at this point, which is extremely crazy. So we definitely need to track this one further. I feel like the answers are not there totally today. I think that things are aligning in a good direction for the United States, as in, we should be safe from this one. But definitely, it's just, you hate to see those models still, a couple of them, showing that way, way far southern track. And that's why we have to continue to track this one and consider the possibility that this could change its mind, or the models could change their mind, and this one could be headed kind of towards the United States. And that would be obviously a huge difference than a storm going out to sea. Anyway, we're going to continue to track this daily, so be sure to subscribe as we do that. Be sure to like this video if you did and leave a comment down below with your thoughts. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.